For our first day in Chongqing, we visited this Chinese amusement park, Yangrenjie. Unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery, so I could only film the racetrack. The next day, we headed out to lunch on a boat, and I took a couple pictures in replacement to filming so you can get a feel for what it looked like. Afterwards, we headed out for some shopping at Hongyadong, this huge shopping complex that was still being renovated. It was interesting to just walk around and explore the place. Later that night, I was able to experience a Hong Kong-style meal where the rice was cooked in a small pot, just like in this picture. The next day, we headed out to the Three Gorges Museum to learn more about the area before we went on the cruise. Afterwards, we headed towards a major shopping area in Chongqing, but since I wasn't interested in buying anything, I just explored the neighboring area. Here are some of the pictures I took. And then we got on a boat, upon which, of course, I immediately put down my stuff and headed off to explore. It was very fancy and nice, if I do say so myself. The next day, we headed out to Chengdu Ghost City, a superstitious city with specific traditions. For example, on this bridge, women had to walk with their right foot first, whereas men had to walk with their left foot first. The whole experience was, well, something I had never done before. We got a short break in our rooms and then headed out to Shibaozai in the afternoon. It harbored this temple, and to get to it, we had to cross a very rocky and unstable bridge. The climb to the top was terrifying, mostly because of all the people and the heat and the humidity, but I somehow managed to survive. So the next morning, I pretty much detached myself from my bed so I could get up to watch the sunrise. I felt like, heck, this is probably the first time in a while that I'll ever be on a boat again, so I might as well make an exception to see the sunrise this once. And of course, I was the only one on the cruise deck that early. Figures. Later that morning, we headed out to White Emperor City, home to the landscape on the Ten Renminbi. Also, White Emperor City is known as the city of poems due to many poets writing about it. That's pretty much all I got off the info sheet, and the Chinese tour guide didn't really help me to understand it, so I kind of just ventured off and admired the details and the architecture of the place. Afterwards, we returned to our cruise ship and I took a short break to admire the view from our room, but since I had gotten up so early, I just took a nap for an hour or so before our next activity. Next up, we transferred boats to this tour boat of the Three Gorges. It basically gave us a tour of the notorious landmarks in the Three Gorges and offered a very peaceful and beautiful view of the nature, except for the murky water part. We then hiked up to see this hometown performance, which I thought was very different and interesting. The dancers and singers involved must have worked really hard, and I'm quite regretful that I didn't remember which townspeople they were. Later that night, we entered the Three Gorges Dam and had to pass through 5 gates. What would happen is we would enter, the gates would close, and the water level would drop, so we would sink before we could pass through the next gate. It was a lot of fun at first, but after a while the screeching of the gates made it very difficult to fall asleep. The next day, I got to explore the Three Gorges Dam! Though because our tour guide spoke mostly Chinese, I had a difficult time again understanding the whole mechanics of the place. Why do I keep on saying mechanics? So I kind of snuck off and went to check out the view.